What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Burnout Brighter podcast. My name's Matt. I'll be your host for this evening's events. This is episode 84. I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Darren.
Hello.
Destiny has been chased down by that damned old woman again. She thought she was finally safe when she left Korea. Nope, that lady swam across the sea, the ocean, to get at her, and they're rough and tumbling through the streets of America now. So she'll be back next week, but right now she's at it with an old woman again.
I demand a race between that old lady and Michael Phelps. And if Michael Phelps does not agree, he's a coward.
I agree. And you know what? We'll sweeten the pot because we know Michael Phelps likes that pot. See what I did there? If Michael Phelps wins, the granny will give him lots of weed. But if the granny wins, then I guess she has a new member in her RPG party, which hunts down Destiny, and that's a scary fucking idea.
Yeah, maybe I should reevaluate whether Michael Phelps would want to join the old lady or not before we sick them both on Destiny.
That's what I mean. Probably not a good idea. Maybe that's how she got across the ocean. She kind of just stood on his back while he very quickly swam.
Yeah, exactly.
He was a swimmer, right? I don't know. For half a second, I doubted myself, and I was like, was that man a runner? But no, he was a swimmer.
That's why I brought him up, because you said the old lady swam across the ocean. So I was like, Michael Phelps. That's the only, water person I know.
Water person. All right, on this week's show, we're going to be talking all about PlayStation Now, what is doing right, what is doing wrong, why Game Pass is better, and going to have a little bit of a conversation about video game preservation and why things make Darren mad. Well, I think old game is old. But anyways, we're going to start off this conversation, as we always do, with a round of random questions. And Darren, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah. Right? I immediately... I don't know how I forget about this every time, but especially when Destiny's not here, I just forget that it's my responsibility to come up with the question. I have no one to
rely on. I know that's me every week, because I forget about this up until we get off the rigmarole of the opening, and I'm like, oh crap, what's our first segment? This question that I haven't thought of. If I wanted to ask you a question, Darren.
Mm-hmm.
And the question was something that I wanted you to answer. And it was something that I might find interesting if you were to answer it. Okay, I've been playing a bunch of Apex lately.
Okay.
So, and I know you're a big Apex man. You're a boy for that Apex stuff.
Sure. We'll call me an Apex boy.
Yeah, I'll call you an Apex boy.
Forget Apex Predator. I'm an Apex boy.
Apex boy, but
top of the boy chain.
Yeah, BOI though. Like we're in some 90s rap group. If you became an Apex character, what would your power set look like? Because every Apex character has their passive ability, their special, and then their ultimate, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say you got dropped into the world of Apex and you found yourself with abilities. What do you think your loadout would look like?
Oh my God. Okay. So I think that, because I'm also trying to think about all the different heroes they have in Apex right now, and kind of is there a niche that I could fill? I think, I actually got a good one. Okay. So this is more effort than I normally put into analyzing this. I usually just say the first thing that comes to my head. Which is not always right or good.
But you're an Apex boy, so that's why you need more effort here.
Exactly. I have to live up to the Apex boy moniker. So I would be very similar to, I want to say a Mirage type character that's kind of a decoy. Where I would... Well, okay, maybe Mirage is the wrong comparison. I'm basically going to make myself like Kirby in Apex, where I like to think of myself as a semi-decent actor. I like to do some acting in my spare time. It's a passion of mine. So I would make my hero briefly copy the ability of another hero. So
That's cool.
if I saw like a Wraith or a Gibraltar or whatever, I would get like a scaled down version of one of their abilities. So the
Would
idea
that be
is,
just your normal special, or would that be your ultimate?
oh crap, I forgot they have multiple.
Yeah, you have
Oh,
a passive, and then your special and your ultimate.
okay.
So
So
maybe let me
I actually,
try
I
and
okay.
okay,
Come up
go.
with a passive for me. Come up with a passive for me.
That's what I was about to say. For passive, what if you were harder to detect on like enemy radars or something like that, so you can more easily kind of blend in with the enemy team kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah. I
Something along
actually,
those lines.
that's perfect. Yeah, I was thinking that like my passive maybe like decrease the sound like cone that I create like when I fire a weapon. Like I'm less detectable from range.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a good passive. I'm actually going to be a pretty good character here, Matt, because my ultimate
I'm
would be
saying.
copy. My ultimate would be copy. So I could uh just copy the ultimate of whoever I saw. But it would be kind of scaled down, and maybe I would like drain some of their ultimate. So like we'd like 50-50
Okay.
it. So like when they have their ultimate, when I steal, their ultimate's like 50% less effective, but then I get that 50% effectiveness. Um,
That's cool.
I don't know how the hell that would work. You know, freaking
No, but
whatever
we're not talking
respawn,
about
that's on you.
feasibility here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for my standard ability, I would do like ventriloquism almost. I'm not actually a ventriloquist, but like actory things. I would make a firing gun sound effect appear at range close to a place that I could target. So it makes it sound like we're somewhere else.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's actually that would be actually a really great character.
I am super happy with this character I'm designing. I think the ultimate needs some work, but the passive and the standard I think are actually
Yeah.
like really cool ideas.
I kind of like the idea that your ultimate is like a scaled down version. So, for example, if you use Lifeline's, like
Care
the supply
package.
drop, yeah, the care package, it might show up in like a wooden box, like fucking drifting down a little bit slower than it would with the actual care package.
Yeah, or if I took like I can't remember if it was Gibraltar or Bangalore that has the like missiles that go off in a line or whatever, the
Yeah,
airstrike, it would be like
yeah,
a smaller line airstrike, but the side effect being that I would reduce their airstrike as well. So like
yeah.
I'm like draining it from them and then like using it against them.
I like this idea. That's actually a pretty good character, Darren. I would buy you if you were a
Thank
DLC
you.
character. I would buy you.
Thank
I
you
might
very
main
much, Matt.
Darren,
You're
Apex boy.
gonna main Darren. Darren's
I'm
my
gonna
main.
not main.
Main,
Close.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
Darren, your turn for a question to
Oh,
ask myself.
crap. I put way too much thought power into my own answer that I forgot to come up with a question for you. Um, I want to think of something along those lines though.
Okay.
But like if you
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
were
Mm-hmm.
shoot, what have you been playing? You've been playing Yakuza. And I was like, oh yeah, Matt's playing Yakuza. I'll ask him a Yakuza question. But I'm like, I don't know enough about Yakuza to ask him a Yakuza question. I think like, okay, if you were in the Yakuza universe, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like those characters, like you have different like stances and things, right? Like you'd have different martial art
You
styles.
you do depending on the game. Some of the games do, some of the games do not.
What would your Matt signature martial art style be designed around you? Like a unique fighting style that's,
So I
yeah.
feel like in like Yakuza 0 is the one that you have like different fighting styles, and I'm not sure about some of the later ones because I haven't gotten to that yet. But I think mine. So one of the main mechanics in Yakuza, well, not really main mechanic, but a mechanic, is that you can get drunk, right? And I've accidentally gotten drunk with my characters a few times where I'm like, oh, I'm sure they can handle this couple drinks, and then I'm left like staggering around the city. I'm just trying to make you go straight, and he's like,
Right.
"Meow." So I feel like that kind of like old school like drunken monkey style kind of fighting where
Ah.
like getting into combat like the moves might not always land exactly, but if they do, they would do a lot of damage, and it would kind of be like a swaggery slash like stumbly type kind of fighting style,
Right,
where
right,
like
right.
I would maybe do like more damage with like, because I can't fight for shit in real life. Maybe like I would do more damage with items that I pick up, and like I'd be able to kind of like dodge around, but kind of sloppily,
Okay.
and like that would be kind of my thing. And if like, and the more alcohol I drink, the more powerful I become,
Right. That's
but also
dude, I
more
like it.
the harder to control.
Yeah. So your power increases, but your unwieldliness also increases.
Exactly. Yeah. So it'd be kind of like, do I want to go to the bar before I get into this fight? It will make it harder to win, but at the same time, I'll be more powerful, and it has like a bit of a trade off. You have to try and figure that out.
Matt, do you have some real life experience with drunken bar fighting?
Not bar fighting. I've actually tried to fight a bar when I was drunk.
What?
I don't know. I just saw the opportunity and I went for it.
I with you, I actually like believed. I'm like, I feel like Matt might actually try to fight a bar. Like he got angry at a
fuck you,
wall.
bar.
Just like start kicking the wall. And the bartender's like, dude, you gotta leave. Like, stop kicking the bar.
Depending on the bar, because some of those bartenders will be like, "Yeah, let's get that wall."
Yeah,
But
that wall's been a pain in my ass since we opened this place.
gets a backup in. All right, well, that actually turned into a pretty good round of random questions. I think that was more preamble than we're used to, but like the answers and the questions did pretty well, Darren. Look at us.
Not bad.
Look
We're
at us.
improving.
Apex Boy, and see, a couple weeks ago I asked you if you wanted a nickname, and I think that this might stick a little bit.
We're gonna be Apex Boy now. I'm Apex Boy.
Apex Boy.
Oh my god.
And I'll be like your Apex Robin, but we'll have to workshop the name a little bit. But
Apex Bird.
Oh god, no, that's even worse. All right, let's move on off these random questions. Darren, I want to know what's new. What have you been playing? What have you been up to? What's new?
Oh man. I have been like very in between games right now. I finished Ori and the Will of the Wisp.
Okay.
Which I will say overall I think I did like it better than the first game. It's just like
why the overall asterisk? Yeah, you seem uneasy with that answer.
Because I think the first game's more polished. Like the second game, I think just goes bigger and like the movement is just better. And like by the end of the game, you're just this like bullet shooting through the air, even to a higher degree than the first game. But I found like a lot of glitches in the game. Like I was constantly like accidentally getting out of bounds and like accidentally getting like stuck in walls and things like that. I don't know if that's exclusive to the Switch version, but like it happened enough that it was starting to be a pattern, and I was kind of shocked. Never experienced that in the first.
So like
game.
what, like when you were moving, you would get trapped in a certain space, or you'd go like through a floor type of thing?
Yeah,
or like how do
it mostly happened in the ceiling, like because you have the ability called Bash, which you also get in the first game, where like projectiles and enemies, you can jump off of them and launch yourself in any direction. So I'd be trying to find like if there was a secret in the ceiling, like is there something up here? Can I get up there? So I'd launch myself towards the ceiling, and a lot of the time there would not be collision there, and I would actually straight up launch myself out of bounds and then get like stuck in a wall and not come down.
That sucks.
Yeah.
So what would you do? Would you reload, or would you just kind of?
Yeah, I just like if you're out of bounds long enough, the game does have like a fail safe where like it just kills you and then reloads you,
pulls you back.
Except for one time also where I was doing a speedrun trial, and when I restarted the trial, my character was no longer there. Like I was invisible and I could not move, and my ghost that I was chasing just like ran away, and I was just stuck there. I'm like, this is weird. What the hell? So then I fast traveled to a checkpoint, still wasn't there. I reloaded my save, still wasn't there.
What?
I had to close the game and relaunch the whole game, and then I finally was there.
What a weird problem.
Yeah, so like I think the first game's more polished, and I did have some performance issues, but I mean it's the Switch version, so I'll excuse it. It was nothing major, but like still, despite that, I do still think I liked it better. And then
Nice.
other than that, though, I think I'm trying to decide between whether I want to play Ghost of Tsushima or if I want to play um, Disco Elysium because I picked that up,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
if I want to play Blasphemous, which I picked up on my Switch.
Blasphemous is like the gross old school,
Yeah,
like not like the Metroidvania esque
it
kind of
is.
thing.
Yeah, it's like Metroidvania meets Dark Souls, a whole bunch of buzzwords, but it's really cool 1632-bit ish
Uh-huh.
there. The art style is influenced by like dark Spanish Inquisition era religious iconography. Um,
Yeah.
very cool. I just like loaded it up to see what it was like, and I was like, I'm already in. When the game opened up with a woman pounding like a statue of the Virgin Mary against her chest, and then like you kill the first boss and like you open up a wound, fill your helmet with blood, and then put the helmet on. Like I was like, I'm
Yeah.
in. I'm in.
Sounds like a Darren game.
Yeah.
Well, I
Just
guess the question then is, what's the time commitment you want to give? Because you said what? Ghost of Tsushima, Blasphemous, and
and
Disco
Disco
Elysium.
Elysium. Ghost of Tsushima and Disco Elysium I know are both quite a big time commitment. I'm
That's the
also
thing.
I'm also looking for things I can play on my Switch. I might go into Blasphemous, and I'm kind of still like playing Final Fantasy 14 in the end game, like grinding out for like
Yeah.
end game gear. Uh, but I don't know. I'm in between it. What I will say is, actually, do you have any suggestions, Matt? What do you think I should play? I want you to pick for me. What do you think I should play?
I think so. Disco and Ghost of Tsushima obviously would both be doing on your PS4,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
I would say if you have Blasphemous on your Switch, play that when you can't have access to the TV, right? Like if your
Mm-hmm.
parents are using it or something, right?
Well, I
Have
have a
that
TV in my
going.
room actually, so I like
Then,
I'm
well, then
playing on
never
that.
mind.
But my chair sucks, and I don't
Okay.
like sitting on it. So it's basically like when I don't want to sit in my desk chair, I
Yeah.
will.
Then play some Switch,
Yeah.
and then I would tell you to go with Disco Elysium because I feel like that game is super fucking cool. I love Ghost of Tsushima
Yeah.
and I love Disco. Both of those two, like in their respective years that they came out, were some of my favorite games that I played.
Right.
But I feel like coming off of Ori, which is like, a little more action oriented, same thing
Yeah.
with Ghost of Tsushima, maybe to give yourself a bit of a different feel, especially because if you're playing Blasphemous at the same time, go with Disco. And I think Disco is so fucking weird. I think it's going to grab your heart immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
I
Okay. Thank you for the suggestion. Thank you. And
Yeah.
before I pass it off to you, because I know you're itching,
Mm-hmm,
and I'm
mm-hmm,
itching to hear
mm-hmm,
what you've
mm-hmm.
been up to. I did
Everybody's
load up
itching.
I've got rashes all over my body. It's disgusting.
Gross.
I'm itching so hard. Um, I first need to tell you that my
Uh-huh.
dad got the platinum trophy for Immortals Phoenix Rising.
Hell yeah, he did.
Because he clearly really liked it. So he would be upset if I didn't tell
Yeah.
you.
Yes. Thank you. Vindication. Validation. Valedictorian.
Yeah, he really liked it. He really liked it. I have
Good.
nothing else to say
I'm
about
glad.
that.
Uh-huh.
But I loaded up Disco Elysium Director's Cut or Final Cut or whatever it's called. The developers need to release a patch to increase the text size. It's atrocious.
I've heard that it's bad. It was small on PC, but I guess the difference being is that the PC is so close to your face. But I've heard that it's rough
I was
in terms
playing.
of how fucking small it is.
Oh, it is. Like I was playing on a 50-inch, like 4K TV, and I could not read the text in my inventory screen. Like,
yeah,
I don't understand why developers keep doing this. Like, I understand it's probably because they're designing the game on a monitor in front of them, so they don't notice. But like a game like this, especially, which deals with like pretty important like social topics, you think that accessibility would be higher on their radar.
Yeah.
And they even have a text slider, but it only affects the dialogue text. And the dialogue text is fine. Like in their defense, when you max out the text slider, the size is more than enough. But like,
Yeah.
doesn't change any of your options, doesn't change any of your menus. It's garbage. And they better fix it before they release the Switch version, because my God, people will want refunds.
Yeah, I've heard that it's rough. I remember the dialogue being quite small even on PC.
Mhm.
So it sucks to hear that, like, even though I guess they kind of took like a weird half step forward
Yeah.
where they fixed like the text dialogue but not the menus, which is kind of important.
Yeah, it
So
really puts a damper on
hopefully
things.
hopefully they clean that up.
I hope so too. But Matt, what have you been up to?
I've been playing a whole bunch of stuff. I so Destiny and I played a game called Lost Words Beyond the Page, which we just have a new review up on our channel.
Check out
So
the
I'm not gonna spend
review.
check out the review. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on it, but I do want to talk about it for a minute because, man, I have never cried more in a game than playing that. Just like
Really?
it, and like multiple times throughout, like the way that the game is written and the topics that it deals with is, and like just the presentation and the music, like everything comes together so harmoniously that like I like every time you flip back to the diary, because there's sections of the game that you're in a diary um
Right.
of and a girl is writing in it, and the other half of the game takes place in this like fantasy world of the story she's creating. And like every time you flip back to the diary, I was just in shambles. Like the writing is so well done, and
Wow.
the presentation is just some of the most beautiful art I've seen in any game ever. Like I went into the game expecting to like it. I did not expect that like I put it up there in the same and I say this in the review, but like up in the upper echelon of games like that, like Journey and Spiritfarer, that just like deal with more difficult topics but pull at you in a way. Like the game is not hard. It's not
Mhm.
difficult, and like I probably beat it in about 4 hours, so it's not like it's super lengthy either. But like for me, it was the perfect length. It surprised me in many many ways, and like it's just it's easily one of my favorite games, and probably so far my game of the year this year. Um, like it's incredible.
That's some
It's
high
incredible.
praise.
Yeah. I loved it. I loved it. And I know Destiny felt the same way, and you know she talks a lot about it in a review, so I'll let that speak for itself. But man, like it's like I think it's only like $20. So if you're looking for something to kind of um to take you, to take you on an adventure through this like beautiful beautiful world, go check it out because it's I can't give that game enough praise. Like
Yeah.
it's incredible.
I'll definitely pick it up too, because I had never even heard of the game until you told me that you were going to review it. Like I had no
Yeah.
clue it existed. So that's like good on them. Like I hope this game gets more press then, because I've seen like no advertising for it.
From what I remember, it was a Stadia exclusive. That is now coming to
Oh.
everything else. So now, like as of
Oh.
the time this podcast goes up, it'll be out everywhere. Um, so it's beautiful. Like it's really really beautiful. So I loved that game. I started playing Cozy Grove, which is a new game that we're also going to be working on. Um, I'm only about a couple hours in so far because this is like an Animal Crossing style management sim kind of thing. Like the idea
Right.
is that you're like this spirit guide, kind of like a girl guide,
Mhm.
like in that same, or a Boy Scout, and you go to this island that's filled with ghost bears.
Okay.
Um
Ghost bears,
and
all
like
right.
yeah, and like you meet like the first ghost bear you meet, and then you start like doing tasks, and like the game's clock is set to like your real life clock, so some things that you do it won't start until the next day. So it's meant to be played in short bursts. Like I'm trying to avoid the same thing that I did with Animal Crossing, where I played a hell of a lot of it at first and then ran out of shit to do pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm trying to do this in like maximum half an hour to like hour chunks every day.
And so it is
And
like, how long do you think it's meant to go on for? Like, what's the upper limit of this game? Forever? Like in Animal
I'm
Crossing?
not sure yet. I'm not sure yet. This does seem to have much more of a dedicated story than Animal Crossing. So I do think
Okay.
that there is a more like I do think there is a finish line, at least for a story, because like part of what you're doing is trying to figure out why these ghost bears are still haunting this island, and a lot of them can't remember either. So like by finding items and doing quests for them, you're trying to help them get their memory back so they can pass on,
Hmm.
kind of thing. So there is more of a story built into this than Animal Crossing has. So like I'm too early to say to give too much thoughts on it yet, but like from the first couple hours, it's grabbed me quite a bit. It's really cute. There's even stuff that is like a part seagull, part bear, part ghost. Like they're very cutesy with like the way that their characters work.
Right.
It's cute so far.
What are you playing it on?
It's on
again?
Apple Arcade. I'm playing it on Switch.
You're playing on Switch. Okay.
Yeah. So it's pretty cute.
But did it come out first on Apple Arcade? Or is it like
it did come out first Apple Arcade?
Okay.
It came out first Apple Arcade a little bit ago, and now it's coming to Switch and PlayStation, I think. But it's cute so far. I'm playing it on Switch and I am enjoying it. And again, like I'm playing it in maximum like 30 to 45 minute chunks because I feel like that's kind of what they want you to do. There is other stuff there if you want to do it, but it's cool.
I'm surprised that there's not more games that actually use, real life time frame as like a time frame for the game. Like I guess that, and when you say it uses real time, it's not just like most mobile games where it's like you do something and then it's real time because you have to wait real time, right? Like, do things change in the game based on the time that you actually play it?
Yeah. So like if you harvest resources on day one, like if you're running around and collecting all the branches and stuff that you can use for crafting, those won't respawn until the next day just because it takes time for them to regen.
Okay.
While also being like, if you're like, there's only a set amount of stuff that you can do in a day because like the bears will run out of quests, and like sometimes the things that you're doing for them will take time.
But like it doesn't use your real life time. Like, oh, it's 4 p.m. so like the sun is starting to set or something like that.
It does. It does. Yeah.
Okay.
Like there's still yeah. It does. It's like very much like Animal Crossing, where like if you're running around collecting resources, there's only so much that you can do in a day before you have to wait for things to regrow, and like that way.
That's cool. Like, yeah, I wish more games. I mean, it's obviously something that's only good for a specific subset of games. Like it should not be used in every game, but it's an interesting mechanic that you can't really like for books and movies, you can't force someone to watch, part of a movie once a day, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very unique.
So that's why it's cute. And then what else? There's been something else that I've been playing that I'm struggling to. Oh yeah, I got back into Apex. Duh.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. Yeah, I went to the PC room with a couple of my friends here in Korea because I'd never been, and we were kind of like, okay, let's go check it out. And the only thing that I could play was Apex because everything else like I'd have to buy. So we're like, all right, like let's load up Apex, and I got them hooked.
Oh really?
And so now we've been back. We've been back a few times now, and we keep playing it. And I actually played with Mr. Midas, shout out, a couple days ago, and we just we wrecked shop. We almost won, but we got a little bit shit canned right at the end.
Nice.
But yeah, like I forget how good the gunplay is in that game. Like it's for like I fell off of it for no particular reason. Like it's just time, I guess.
Sure.
But man, that game is a lot of fun.
Respawn like now there's like really good at what they do.
Yeah. So I'm curious. I'm gonna keep going with it and keep fucking around with it because I forgot how much fun that game is. And like, it's really weird. So when we go to the PC room, we play on PC, obviously, right?
Right.
And like playing at home, I've been playing on my PS5.
Sure.
And I am definitively better with a controller than with a mouse and keyboard. Like just for myself.
Yeah.
I played a lot better on console than I did on computer, and I guess it's just because it's like a familiarity thing, and it's where I'm comfortable.
I was gonna say it's ingrained into you.
Yeah. Like I did fine on PC, but like I got home and I started playing on console, and I was like, oh wait, no, like this feels better. I like this more. But yeah, that's a great game. But that's pretty much it for what I've been playing as far as I remember. I think that's it. But yeah, Darren, what we're going to be talking about today is something that you and I have very different feelings on, but at the same time, similar feelings on. But where we're going to start with this topic is we're going to be talking about PlayStation Now, we're going to be talking about Game Pass, and we're going to be talking about preservation of old games. Mm-hmm. Let's start with PlayStation Now, because PlayStation Now has been making a bit of headlines lately in the news for a couple different reasons. Right? Number one, it just announced that it's getting like Marvel's Avengers, and it's getting Borderlands 3, and it's getting the Long Dark. Those are some of the new games that they're adding.
Mhm.
And there's also like a new 1 week free trial that you can hop on. So like if you wanted to go claim that week trial and then just play the Avengers campaign, because that's the only decent part of that game right now, and then just cancel your subscription, you can do that.
What was that? What? I thought I heard
I
something.
don't know.
What?
Yeah, right. But
Wow.
PlayStation Now just can't seem to do what Game Pass is doing. And like to give our viewers some clarity, Game Pass has been doing stuff like Square Enix's Outriders, which is making a lot of it's apparently doing quite well right now. Launch day and date on Game Pass. That's a third-party game coming there the day it comes out. The most one that baffles me, MLB The Show, which is a PlayStation first-party developed game that is now coming to Xbox for the first time because MLB was pretty much like, we want our game to be in more people's hands. So it's coming to Xbox for the first time, made by a PlayStation first-party studio, is now coming to Game Pass, day and date, when it comes out.
That's so
It's not
funny.
even coming to PlayStation Now, day and date. It's not even coming to PlayStation Now. So, like, what I wanted to talk to you about, Darren, is like, why can't PlayStation Now get it together? And do they even want to? Right? Because from the outside looking in, I feel like PlayStation has this whole mentality right now where, like, our shit sells, our first party stuff is great, we want money, which I mean, it's a business, so of course. While Game Pass seems to be taking all of these games and being like, pay your monthly subscription, you can play them all. And like you have EA's games wrapped up in there, you have so much. GTA 5 is coming, the new NHL is coming. So the Game Pass, there's a lot going on. But why can't PlayStation Now figure it out?
That is such a good question, Matt. And I also want to say, it's easy for me to tell you what's wrong with PlayStation Now. It's a much harder thing to say is why I don't think Sony's trying to fix it. Which would you like?
Start with what's wrong with PlayStation Now.
Okay.
What bothers you?
What bothers me with PlayStation Now is the lack of games. Like, the library is growing, but I think the perfect example to show is actually with the release of Avengers on PlayStation Now. It's only going to be there for 4 months and then it disappears. Like, even when you go ahead.
I have really mixed feelings on that because I feel like Sony is upfront with how long a game will be on their service. And so far, it seems like they do the kind of like maximum, 6 months things, which is really weird, especially for first party stuff like God of War last year.
Yeah.
Well, Game Pass will not tell you how long it's going to be there. It's just tell you when it's leaving. But I don't have the numbers to tell you how long games generally stay on Game Pass, but I feel like it must be much longer than that. But
I think I heard somewhere that it's meant... I think I heard somewhere that on Game Pass, it's at least a year. Like, when something gets added, I think it stays for at least a year. If you don't mind, looking that up for me. I don't want to be misquoted. But it shocks me. Well, and like, so the games just aren't there. So even when Sony puts out first party games, like you said with God of War, they're not there for a long time. Despite what a lot of people think, you can download the games on PS4. You can download your PS4.
You can download
PS4 games and
not
PS2
all of them,
games.
But some, yeah.
You can download PS4 games. You can download PS2 games. You cannot download PS3 games. Sony's also been doing a really bad job marketing because a lot of people don't seem to know that. A lot of people just assume that it's streaming only.
Well, because it was only streaming for the longest time, right? Them adding downloads was like a direct response to Game Pass being download only, right? Like, outside of unless you're playing on your phone, which is then it's streaming, yes, but
exactly. So if you're gonna ask me like what's one thing that's screwing them over, I think it's just like the library. Like, there's some good stuff there, but it's not the best. And for people that want to do it for backwards compatibility or want to play some PS3 games they missed, it is not download. And I think that's a big problem too. I actually do think that is a reason why people might not want to play it. Because like, people sometimes use Game Pass for the back catalog. And if you can't download your back catalog and your internet's not good enough to stream it, then that's going to stop you from downloading it as well.
I agree. I think that's a big problem because like you would think that at least kind of in the PlayStation 5, let's say that PlayStation 5 is when they want to take PS Now and rebrand it and make it better. You would
Mhm.
think they would have built in the architecture to be able to emulate all these things properly, even just downloading it, which
Mhm.
to me seems like a weird misstep if they didn't. Because like you said, like I think the library is fine. Like there's like 800 games there. There's a lot that you could play, but
Mhm.
like I also feel like Game Pass has a lot less kind of shovelware, which is kind
Yeah.
of like a shitty way to say it, but I feel like PlayStation now just has a lot more bloat to it that it's just games that people don't want to play.
Yeah.
My biggest like thing with PlayStation now is like why not have the first party stuff there indefinitely? And I looked it up, Darren. You were right. Game Pass games, third party games generally tend to stay for a year.
Okay.
Can be shorter, can be longer depending on what the publisher wants, but the first party stuff is just there.
Yeah.
And like
Okay.
I don't see why PlayStation isn't doing the same thing. Why isn't God of War there? Why isn't Horizon there? Why aren't their biggest PlayStation exclusives there?
Mhm.
It just and like if you don't want to put the day and date, I think that sucks, especially with Game Pass doing that. But like whatever. But like you think that what like God of War is one of the greatest hits fucking collection now. You could probably pick it up for
Yeah.
like 20-25 bucks. Like why
Yeah.
not just have that value there for people to buy in? And
Yeah.
I think part of the thing as well is I think they kind of need to do what Xbox did with Game Pass Ultimate and bundle in PlayStation Plus into PlayStation Now and just raise the price a bit. Like
If
if
they
they
wanted to
had their
catch on,
two-tier
that
system,
sounds like what they'll have to do.
yeah, like if they had their two-tier system the way that Microsoft does, where you have your base Game Pass, or if you want Game Pass and Gold together, you pay for Game Pass Ultimate. I don't see why PlayStation wouldn't do the same thing while having PlayStation Plus be like their kind of like entry level service, and then PlayStation Now Plus or whatever make it like if PlayStation Plus is $10 a month or $8 a month, put it at like 14 or $15 a month, because I can't imagine they're making that much money off of PlayStation Now that like they wouldn't make more bundle, like dropping the price on it a little bit, rolling it with PlayStation
Yeah.
Plus, and then making it more readily available.
Yeah. It's, I have been coming up with a theory as to why they don't do this. And you kind of triggered that a little bit when you said, do they want it to be better? And I actually don't think they do. It's kind of just occurring to me right now. I don't think they want it to be better. Because if you look at Microsoft, right? Microsoft
Mm-hmm.
this generation is, in terms of games, moving to almost like a software exclusive mentality. Like they don't care if you buy an Xbox, they don't care if you buy a Windows computer, they don't care what,
If you're playing on
device
your
you have,
phone,
or if you're playing on your
yeah,
phone. If you have their games, they will make money off of it. But I think that's because Microsoft's revenue streams are a little more secure. Because if you buy a computer, Microsoft is still making money off of that if it runs Windows, right? If you buy an
mm-hmm.
Xbox,
Yeah,
Microsoft is making money off that. Your phone, they can't, I mean, sure, they don't necessarily own your phone, but at the same time, you're not getting the best Game Pass experience if you're playing on your phone because you can't download to your phone.
yeah.
You have to stream. Um, so
But
Microsoft has,
the fact that they still make that option available to you, you know what I mean, is a
yeah,
really like consumer forward way to go about it, right? Like
yeah,
I right now I don't have an Xbox. I sold mine just because it was in Korea. I'm planning on picking up a new one when I get back to Canada. But like
mhm.
I've been looking at Game Pass on my phone, being like, maybe I'll resub to play some of these games because I do have like a controller that I can use with it, and it's like knowing that it's not a pristine experience, but the option there is just nice.
Yeah, and I think, well, this is also, I think, why they can put their first party titles there indefinitely, because their revenue stream is kind of just more secure with their computer sales, with their software sales, with Microsoft Office sales. Sony's video game division is a lot more separate from the rest of Sony as a company. And I don't think their revenue stream is as secure. Like if you want to play a PlayStation game, like if they're going to make money off of it, they need to sell you a PlayStation. Like if they're not
Yeah,
going to sell you they sell computers, but they don't sell the operating system on that computer. They don't have
Yeah.
like all these other tools that they're making money off of if you play your games just
Elsewhere.
through like a subscription service. So I think that's why Sony doesn't want to put their games on PlayStation Now indefinitely, because they can't get their like expenses back selling it that way.
I
They
think
must not think that they can actually make their money back that way.
I think you're partly right there. I also would be very curious to see what this ecosystem would look like if Xbox One didn't get slapped the way that it did versus the PS4. Because I feel like the narrative since like 2011, right, was or
Mhm.
2012 was that they Microsoft fucking botched their announcement of of Xbox One, and ever since then I feel like they've been on the back foot. And
Mhm.
seeing that, like once I think what Phil Spencer joined them 6 or 7 years ago now, ever since he joined, I really felt like they went from hardware focused to software focused, like you said,
Mhm.
and making it, even if people aren't buying Xboxes, they can still play Xbox games, right? They can still
Yeah.
buy into the ecosystem. And I think that's kind of their angle. Like, I feel like they switched to a much more consumer focused way, while like
Mhm.
Sony has been running away with it, and through a lot of the PS4 era, right? And now PS5 and
Yeah.
Xbox are both selling really well. They both still have, I feel like it's too early to tell anything yet because neither one of them are easy to buy at this point.
Yeah.
So
They're
once
both
they're more
selling
readily
out.
available,
They're both selling
exactly,
everything. Like it's at a standstill.
yeah,
They're being held back by production.
exactly. So once we get them more readily onto store shelves, then we're kind of going to kind of see what happens. But right now, you can still buy into the ecosystem whether you have an Xbox or not. If you even just get Game Pass for PC, or even if you just get Game Pass and play on your phone, right? You can still buy into their ecosystem and play their games, even if you don't have the box. While
Mhm.
PlayStation doesn't do that. Like PlayStation Now, I think is it still available on PC?
I think it is, but you can't download on PC.
Yeah, and like from what I understand, like the if it is still on PC, I think what I remember seeing is that like it's just not as good, right? So
Yeah.
like I feel like for PlayStation, I feel like their mentality is still like we're winning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Our everybody talks about our first party games, right?
Yeah.
And every time there's a first party games, I think they like seeing those numbers. Oh, Spider-Man sold 4 million in its first 3 days. Blah 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 blah. Like in that narrative, and I feel like they're gonna lose that
Mhm.
if they put those games onto their service right away. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's where it's coming from. I feel like their games sell, and they're kind of like why make it more readily available if people are buying them anyway?
Yeah, I agree with that
You know what
too.
I mean?
It's probably a bit of both, where it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's harder for them to make money off of just the software without selling you the console. But at the same time, if people are buying the console, then like, why would we give away our games for free?
Exactly. And like I don't see, unless in the next year or two we see Xbox start running away with it more and more and more. Let's say when all these consoles are more readily available, Xbox has their two SKUs with the Series S and the Series X, and Series S is definitively cheaper. Let's say the narrative becomes, oh, Game Pass helps sell Xboxes. I don't think we're going to see PlayStation make any moves until that starts happening.
Yeah, I agree. Unless it's
Unfortunately.
affecting their bottom line, I don't think they're going to chase it. Like Sony historically has never really been a company to like forwardly innovate with new ideas. They usually just take what they see is working and then like adapt on it and make it successful that way. Like they did that
Yeah.
with Move, and they did that with when they saw that the Switch, or when it was almost like simultaneously, like when the Wii U and stuff was coming out, they decide to like make their PSP work with the console in a better way than the Wii
Yeah.
U worked at the time, because the PSP or
Yeah.
the PS Vita you could just take with you wherever you want.
Yep.
Um,
Remote play. It was a cool idea, but I feel like they keep doing these things in like half steps, right?
yeah,
Like remote play is such an easy sell. Why not have remote play? And I mean, I guess you do have it on your phone, but like again, like none of these services work the way that Game Pass does. Game Pass is such
no,
an easier experience to get into
hmm
versus PlayStation's. So I don't know. I would love for PlayStation Now to be great because I would easily subscribe to it and keep that subscription going if I could play games easier. You know what I mean? Like, I feel
Yeah.
like it's such an easy sell, but I don't think they want to do it at this point. I think they are in their Sony has this like recurring fucking thing where every time that they're up, they get cocky. And whenever they
Yeah.
get cocky, it ends up slapping them, like with the PlayStation you saw going from PlayStation 2 into PlayStation 3. And I
Yeah.
don't think we see that level of hubris with the console itself this time, but I feel like the narrative around any sort of streaming is Game Pass is great, right?
Yeah.
Like Game Pass works. Game Pass you can download. You can play all these games on Game Pass. And like the thing that I think is one of the biggest selling parts of Game Pass, even like looking at it from an industry perspective, EA Play is on it now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like
EA
EA
plays on it.
doesn't do shit if it doesn't see money.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and sure, EA Play, you don't get the newest games day and date, but like you can buy them at a discount, or you still have access to all these games that you can play. Like,
That's
there are
another
heavy
question
rumors
I
that
had too. I was like, what kind of money do developers make when they agree to put their games on Game Pass?
I don't know. That question has never really been definitively answered, and I don't know if it's they just get a lump sum for bringing it. I don't know if maybe like through certain number of downloads or streams, maybe they get some sort of kickback. Like nobody knows what the revenue model breaks down into.
It obviously makes
But like
Microsoft money if they're investing into it.
that's what I'm saying, right? Like, and there was the statistic going around a few months ago that like even games that launch on Game Pass still sell really well. Like Sea of Thieves is the most recent one that comes to mind. That like
Mhm.
it charted in the it was one of the top 5 selling games that month, even though it launched day and date on Game Pass. So like
It's so weird.
it still sells. So like EA Play is there. There's rumors that Ubisoft service will be joining it too, right? Like they're doing more and more to like entice third party developers, which is why you see fucking Outriders on there day and date, right? Like
Mhm.
PlayStation could be doing so much more to make their service better, and I just feel like until the narrative continues to be Game Pass is awesome, look at Game Pass, look at Game Pass, look at Game Pass, I don't think they're going to do anything about it, unfortunately.
And I will say that Game Pass has gone to the point where it's attracted me too. I mean, I seem to like go back and forth sometimes on which console I support for a generation. I was a 360 person over a PS3 person, but then with PS4, I picked PS4 over Xbox One. But like, Game Pass is really enticing. It makes me want to get a Microsoft console. Like, it makes me want
And
to
that's
try
my,
it out.
yeah, and like for me, like I will gladly buy in on a Series S. Like I don't need the Series X, I don't need the top of the line thing, but like the Series S does a lot of the same thing too, and guess what? Game Pass is there.
It's such an affordable
So
option
like,
too.
yep.
You get the cheaper console
So
with the subscription, and you're like, I'm golden.
yeah, and like literally you have hundreds of games you can play without worry. And like GTA 5 is coming now, right? Like there's so like MLB The Show is still the funniest one for me that like and I feel like PlayStation Now getting Avengers is the perfect fucking relationship for this, with Avengers being a very middling game on a very middling service. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. And sorry, before we move off of this, the thing that has like immediately been like, what the fuck, Sony? The PlayStation Now versions of Avengers and Borderlands are the PS4 versions. So
Oh
even if you're
my
playing on
god.
PS5, you're not going to get all the upgrades that come with the PS4 with the PS5 versions of Avengers and Borderlands. Like,
Why? Why would you do that? That makes no sense.
seriously, like Xbox on Game Pass, you get the One X, the One S, the Series S. All the versions are there for you. PlayStation's like, you want to play PlayStation Now on PS5? They're PS4 games. Even though there's a PS5 available, like version available for free if you own the games already. So it's just like,
Is there any PS5 games available to play on PlayStation Now right now? I don't think there are.
Let me see.
I actually, now that you brought it up, I think they have not yet added a PS5 game to PlayStation Now.
Let me see.
I'm so curious because that just kind of shows exactly what their priorities are right now.
So if I go to the PlayStation Now website, the PS Now game collection is updated every month with new PS4 titles joining hundreds of games to stream or download. So it doesn't seem like there's any PS5 games there.
There has been no support yet from PS5 officially, other
No,
than the fact that you can play PlayStation Now on your PS5. You're probably
which is
playing
so
it
weird.
through backwards compatibility mode. You're probably playing it because it's a PS4 app. You're playing it as a backwards
Yeah,
compatible app. It's not actually like updated for PS5.
which is so weird because like then why do the PlayStation Plus collection if you could have just dropped all of those games onto PlayStation Now and done that
Yeah.
as your entry point? Like they did the PS5 collection where if you buy a PS5 you get access to like 20 something games for free to keep forever. Like I don't get it. I don't get it. Like
Yeah.
it's just they're doing all these like weird half steps
Hey,
that like
from a consumer standpoint, that was the better option, because you don't have to buy a PS Now subscription. But yeah, they could have made it a PS Now thing and got more people to play for PS Now, pay for PS Now.
yeah. Yeah, especially give like anybody who picks up a PS5 give them a month subscription
Yeah,
and then see what happens. But and that's the thing, and I guess Darren, that's where our conversation is headed because we've spoken a little bit about this before. You did a hey, did you hear about this about game preservation and how
check it out.
PlayStation check it out how PlayStation is going to be taking down the PS3 and PS Vita and PSP stores.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, a lot of these games make it unavailable to play. Some of them do live on PlayStation Now,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't download them. You have to stream them. So what I wanted to ask you next is on Game Pass, you can play a hell of a lot of old school Xbox games. Xbox original, Xbox 360, and they seem to be making a lot of improvements to those games even still, like unlocking frame rates and making them they making them run better even though that they're old games. Why do you think Microsoft seemingly cares so much more about game preservation than Sony does?
Because I think Microsoft actually sees the financial value in supporting backwards compatibility and game preservation. Because that's the thing. For them, it's not just the reason that they're able to do it so easily with Game Pass is because they baked it in through backwards compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
Not at first, it might have just been for goodwill, but there is a monetary, reason to do it. There are a lot of people that did not play some games back in the generation, or they might have there's so many games coming out. You might have seen a game slip through your radar. You want to play it at some point and you never got around to it.
Yeah.
Through preserving it on Game Pass, that gives you the opportunity to go back and play the things you missed. Because they're still good games.
That and like you have you have a lot of people now who are new gamers who maybe weren't gaming at the time for either being they were too young or maybe they just weren't into video games, right? Like that offers them the opportunity to be like, oh, if I look at IGN's top 25 games of all time list and that game that sounds like an older game, but I want to check it out. Game Pass, it's there, cool. Yes. You know what I mean? Like that through line is so simple.
Yes, yeah, exactly, and that's what makes it valuable, right? Is it takes basically no effort for the company to put these games on their systems if they've got the infrastructure for it. It's a bunch of old games. You can't buy them anymore. You're not making money off of them by just forgetting about them. You might as well just drop the ROMs or the ISOs or whatever on your subscription service to increase your library to add value through quantity.
And so that's kind of I saw a tweet going around the other day which really made me think, and that's kind of where my mind started running about this topic. I feel like both PlayStation and I'm going to do this too, but Nintendo seem to have a very dated look at backwards compatibility in their old games. Yes. But I feel like it's for different reasons. I feel like Nintendo is holding on to their back catalog with this idea that they're going to make more money by piecemealing out and doing it their way. While PlayStation seems to not really give a flying fuck. While Game Pass and Xbox are kind of like, play whatever you want, whenever you want to play it. And it sucks because both, and I'm curious about that as well, because Xbox has relatively the youngest ecosystem comparatively to the others. Yes. Right? So you have more, let's say quote unquote iconic games on Nintendo. Some on PlayStation, not as many as Nintendo.
Yeah.
But like Game Pass, Xbox has the younger library, but they've made it more readily available. So like
Yeah.
I find it very weird that like Nintendo isn't the one leading the charge here, while
Yeah.
also not being surprised.
I actually think that it makes perfect sense that Microsoft is the one leading the charge because of exactly what you said. Sony and Nintendo have the iconic franchises, so they can hoard their gemstones like Smaug on their mountain of gold, and they can treat it like the Disney Vault. And Nintendo, and I don't like that Nintendo does this. I want to make it clear. I don't like it that Nintendo treats, Super Mario 64 this way. Like, it's just some game that they know every couple years they can just re-release it as is and make a bunch of money off of it because they
Yep.
can. Nintendo
And they
games don't
slap
drop. So,
Yeah, and they slap a time limit on that for you to be able to buy it, and guess what? Then you buy it.
yeah, exactly. And I'm a freaking idiot. I'm one of the dummies who bought the goddamn game because of its
Me too.
scarcity. As much as I
Yeah.
complained on the podcast about it.
Yeah.
Because I
Well,
love
that's the
these
stupid
games.
thing though, because it's like you said, right? With being like wanting to have access to them, even though you might not play it right now, even though you might not play it 6 months from now, knowing that it's there for you when you want it is fantastic. But like if you want to play it and you can't buy it because Nintendo said this game's only live for these 6 months that they live on these storefronts, then like
Yeah.
what are
And
they going to do? And like
that's actually exactly what I just wanted to finish my thought. Why I think Microsoft was the perfect company to start the charge is because their franchises, other than like Halo and Gears of War, are not that iconic. They cannot do the same thing. They cannot just like hold it in a vault and then release it 3 years later at the exact same price as it was 10 years ago and expect people to buy it. People won't do that. So because they don't have the franchises, it actually makes sense for them to treat them like this in like a streaming service because that's the best way that they're going to make money off of it. They kind of know the value of their properties. So it's like, if we sell them in bulk, they'll be more attractive.
Yeah. And like that's kind of part of why I think it's a little bit weird too. Well, PlayStation does have a lot of iconic franchises. It's not that much older than Xbox, right? Like the PlayStation 1 compared to the Xbox, it's not like what was like
1 year older.
6 years, 7 years?
6 years. 6 years older, yeah.
Yeah, like PlayStation compared to Xbox.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years.
So like there aren't that many iconic PlayStation franchises that didn't then live on in some other way, shape, or form, right? So like I feel like PlayStation really has that stance of old game is old. You know what I mean? Like, let's just leave it there. Let's talk about the new cool stuff that we have.
Yeah.
While Nintendo, like, I feel like they're kind of two sides to the same coin. PlayStation doesn't give a shit. Nintendo cares too much.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They care about their old franchises and they'll bring them back, but they're going to charge you your entire wallet's worth for you to play them
For
again.
real. Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, I don't know how Nintendo's online system isn't better now, 4 years into the Switch?
They had the virtual console, which was such a good idea, and then they just said, screw it, we don't need that for Switch for some reason.
But then, like, why not just offer both? Why not let people buy the games? And if you want to have a streaming service like that, like there's I don't know, let's graciously say 80 to 90 games, probably between the NES and the SNES. Online virtual, like they're
are you saying like in terms of games that you like want to play, or like in terms of
how many games are there?
Yeah, and where on the virtual console?
Switch Online.
Switch Online.
Switch
Online. Like less than 80.
That's what I mean.
Like probably like closer to like 40, maybe less.
So
than
apparently
that.
there's 86 games there
between NES and SNES combined.
SNES, yes.
Okay.
But like.
They're still missing a lot of the classics. They're still missing a lot of the good ones. Well, that's what I was
about to say. There's 86 games, but I would safely say 90% of those games are horseshit games that you've never heard of, and you're not going to care to play more than, what is this? Cool, let's move on. Yeah. Like, where are all the Mario games? Where are all the Zelda games? Like, where are the stuff that actually provide value? to those services. And now there's all these rumors going on how apparently, like, what is it? The latest one I saw was like on April 8th or April 11th, sometime in the next week. Nintendo Switch just got its 12.0 update, and there's like nothing there, like
The
nothing in
most
terms of
stable
anything.
console of all time. Increased
Yeah,
stability.
but there are some people that have apparently looked at some of the files, and it seems like they might be revamping Nintendo Switch Online. And I don't want to get too hyped, but they said that they're going to drop like N64, GameCube, and Wii stuff all at the same time rather than piecemealing it out. But again, if it was Xbox, I'd be like, fuck yeah, we're gonna get so many games. But it's Nintendo, we're gonna get 3 GameCube games, we're gonna get 3 N64 games, we're gonna get 1 Wii game, and none of them are gonna be good.
Yeah, like if that. I think like when the Wii U was still a thing, they released like maybe 6 Wii games total for you to download. I think it was like a really low number. There was like a few Wii
So like,
games you could play and like no GameCube games. It was really weird.
I just don't understand why they don't understand that like they have this huge amount of games that like people want to play and they want to have access to, and like they'll pay for it.
I
Right
know.
now they're making fucking nothing
Yeah.
by Nintendo Switch Online being like $30 a year or whatever it is, but like it provides literally no value because their online infrastructure sucks ass anyway.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
to kind of bring this back, like, what do you want to see from these companies going forward to make game preservation more important? Like how can they do that outside of like, because like Game Pass is great because a lot of the games are there, but you still live in danger of those games being taken off the service for whatever reason,
Yeah.
right? Or let's say Xbox tomorrow fucking decides to close everything, Game Pass is gone, those games are gone. What do you want to see done? Generally speaking, it doesn't have to be specifically PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, but
Sure.
like, how do you want to see people care more about game preservation? Why is it important?
So yeah, because you know me, Matt. I just intrinsically love game preservation for altruistic reasons of preserving art history. But the
Mm-hmm.
companies don't think that way. They need monetary reasons to preserve their games. And so what I think would be, I think that we're actually moving. The good thing is in a better direction towards it, because I think
Okay.
backwards compatibility is probably the best of both worlds, where for us it allows us to play games that we already own, and for them it promotes us buying older games that have been sitting on the shelves for a while. It promotes us
Right.
like using old stock. What would be better for them, I think, is what Microsoft's already doing, because Game Pass
Mhm.
is it technically is a form of game preservation to a degree, because the games are showing up and they're old, but it sucks because they can disappear. So what I want to see is a hybrid of Game Pass, where
Mhm.
you pay a subscription, you get all these games, you don't own them, but if you want to play them, you keep paying and you can play what you want. At the
Yeah, they're
same
there.
time, offering a purchase option if you want to own them forever. And with the
Mhm.
way that Microsoft's going with backwards compatibility with the Series X, they're supporting games all the way back to the original Xbox, because they were
Yeah.
smart. They're a PC manufacturer, so all of their consoles have been based on PC architecture. So they basically future-proofed it. So they knew down the
Mhm.
line like they could handle it. I think we are moving towards that with Sony. You see with the PS4 to the PS5, like architecture wise, it wasn't a huge difference. So that's why we can play our PS4 games and bring them forward.
Mhm.
I want the ability to purchase the game and own it, even if it's a digital file. I want to be able to own it, to be able to put it on a hard drive, as well as have the subscription service. And I
Yeah.
don't think that's too much to ask. I think Microsoft for sure would be able to handle that. Sony, they need to come up with some kind of PS3 emulation, because Jesus Christ, it's hard to play those PS3 games. Like, I do not want to stream them. I want to be able to download them.
And like, I think that's an interesting idea, but I think that part of the problem that I see, like, let's say PlayStation starts going in that direction, right? Like
Mhm.
the benefit now of Game Pass is like, and Xbox, they've been doing this for a while now, right? And they've been
Mhm.
kind of like piecemealing these games out, and that's only because like they just take time to work on to make sure that they're optimized for, you know, being able to play wherever they are. I feel like PlayStation getting into it now, it would take a long time for them to catch up in a way that has actual value. You know what I mean? And like the thing is, like people would be like, "Oh, you released Spyro, where is Gex or whatever," right? Like I feel like you would have a lot of people being like, "Oh, these old games are coming back. Why isn't my favorite old game there, or why isn't it there yet? Or
Sure,
if it's not there at all, right?"
sure,
And
but
I
I
feel
mean,
like,
they'd get there eventually. Just because they say right now, like, oh, where's my game? I think I do think that like if they start and they show like, hey, we're gonna slowly increase our library, no one's gonna complain that much.
but do you think that Sony would actually go full board and do like, do you want every game there?
No, 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 no.
And that's what I mean. Like, how do you choose?
Well, I mean, how does Microsoft choose what games to put on Game Pass?
I don't know.
Well, then what's your question? I don't understand the
Well,
question.
I feel like there's more games that would need to be done for the PlayStation and Nintendo ecosystems compared to the Xbox ecosystem. That's what I'm
Oh, I
trying to
see
say.
what you mean. Like it would take them longer to like add the things.
Like, just because like I feel like there's a lot of like PS1 and like NES, like cult classic kind of things, right? Like where
Yeah,
it's
because they
just
have a
like,
bigger library.
that's what I
Um,
mean. So it's a more of a buy-in for them to. It's a higher threshold for them to get into it versus Xbox, which, like you said, sounds like they were smart from the beginning, and it's less work for Xbox to do it than it would be from Nintendo and from PlayStation. Which I honestly think is part of the reason why they don't do it. Is they're just like, fuck it, we don't want to try.
all they gotta do is just basically pick the Big Ten. Like honestly, if you compare it to what Sony did with their PlayStation Plus collection, I
Mm-hmm.
honestly think like if you were to own 10 games for your PS4 only, they
Mm-hmm.
pretty much picked the best 10 minus Horizon Zero Dawn. That's the only one that I think that I would add to that collection. And like, I would call
Yeah.
that like a complete set of PS4 games. So like,
Yeah.
if you started with something like that, then everybody would be happy and hype. Then it's just
Yeah.
slowly add things over time. You get the best ones at the start and
Mm-hmm.
minus a couple. You hold a couple back. People are like, where are those games? That's how you like keep people in long term. You add them in over
Incentivize
time.
it to stay in.
That's what Nintendo started with their online subscription for Switch. They started off with, you know, the classics. You got Mario World, you got Metroid, Super Metroid, you got, you know,
Mm-hmm.
A Link to the Past. They started with those games, and then people were like really excited, like, oh man, Nintendo, they're gonna add all these cool games. But then
Yeah.
Nintendo being Nintendo, they just stopped adding things that people actually cared about. So like if they kept
Yeah. They're
following
like,
through, it would have been fine.
yeah, they're gonna like get ready for Crazy Greg's mailroom on NES, and it's just like, who the
Yeah.
fuck? Like,
Yeah, no one cares. I'm not like unreasonable. Like I understand that these companies will never have a complete set available for download. But I think
right.
that we are moving in a more positive direction if Microsoft is an example, and even with Sony adding in PS4 games. But I think what Nintendo has to do is, you know, just like add more of the games that people actually care about. What Sony has to do is fix your goddamn PS3 problem, because the PS3 problem is a huge problem. Also, PlayStation now has PS2 games, but not PS1 games for some reason. The PS3 had a massive PS1 library that you could download and own,
Yep.
and they've just erased existence of that. You cannot find traces of that on their website anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Why? They're freaking games that fit on a CD-ROM. They're tiny. Like, why can't you just, if you can emulate PS2 games, why do they have no PS1 games?
Yep. And like in that same breath, like PSP and PS Vita, like,
Yeah, where are those?
Are those games just being sent to die because they're not in a handheld game anymore? Like, I know
Matt,
some PSP games sure are there, but like,
Matt, I have to tell you, I have to tell you, I'm like slamming my desk because
I could see that.
one thing for everybody who's listening, go check out my Hey Did You Hear about game preservation. Again, I'll
Mm-hmm.
keep promoting it. And two, one thing I cut from that to make it shorter is I talked about the PS Vita specifically and
Mm-hmm.
how terrible the situation is for PS Vita in terms of game
Yep.
preservation. Because at least with PS3 emulation, people care enough about the PS3 to actually try to emulate it and work on it.
Mm-hmm.
The state of PS Vita emulation is in a pretty bad spot. People have not made a lot of progress on. They made actually no, I think that's not true. They made some good progress on an emulator, but
Mm-hmm.
there are still some games that have not had their files ripped, so that when those store disappears, there actually could be games that just disappear forever.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I love my fucking Vita, and like I know that like, and it's funny. Whoever has a Vita loves the Vita, but it didn't sell, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it was expensive, and it just did things that it didn't need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there is a lot of really good games there that might be gone. Granted, a lot of the major ones have already been ported or brought to something else, but like Persona 4 Golden is only on Steam now. Persona
Right.
3 doesn't exist anywhere else at the like as I understand right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the Trails in the Sky series, like there's so much there, like that's just
It's just gone.
will be gone.
And that's one thing that Nintendo did well, is when the Wii U crashed and burned, people like me who had a Wii U hated the fact that Nintendo just wasted all their time, in my opinion, wasted their time porting Wii U games to the Switch. But that was smart for them to do that. They gave
Mm-hmm.
those games a second life by putting them on a console that people have. Think of all the money that Sony could make if they gave the Vita and PSP a second life by porting those games just as is
Mm-hmm.
to PS4
Yep.
or PS5 for people to play.
Yep. And like that's the thing. It's like look at Mario Kart, right? They didn't
Mm,
do much. They added some stuff. They kind of, they did a little bit, but like
yeah,
that is one of the best-selling Switch games still,
yeah,
right? Like that's not even a new numbered entry. That's just taking what was on the Wii U and making it a little bit better. Like there's money being left on the table here, and even though I think that like I still think the reason being that they're not doing this shit is because they just don't see a value in it. Like I
yeah,
would be curious to see even Game Pass numbers, like how much of those older games are being played versus the new stuff. You know what I mean? Like we don't have that data, which is why I
yeah.
think that they don't go full board. I think Nintendo is kind of the exception to the rule here, where I think that if they released old games, people would play them very fucking quickly, just because at least on the NES and SNES, and like we'll see about the N64 and
Yeah, I'll
GameCube,
see
but
about
those
that.
games, well, those games hold up very fucking well even today. So I don't know. I hope you're right, Darren, because it does suck that this idea that these games will just be gone forever. Even though I
Yeah.
think that like some of them, even if they're there, might not really get touched unless it's like, what the fuck is this? Let's click on this. You know
Well,
what I mean?
I'll say it again. I said it in the video, and I'll say it again. If they don't think that there's value in these old games, then why did Microsoft put in the effort to be able to upscale your old games? Why does
Mm-hmm.
the industry keep remaking old games? They keep remaking them.
Yeah.
Or sometimes
Yeah.
remaking is one thing, like Demon Souls remake, that's and Shadow of the Colossus remake, that's one thing. But like they
Yeah.
will straight up just like re-release games with a slight upscale. Like if
Mm-hmm.
they didn't think there was value in old games, why would they do that?
Yeah. And like, can you think of PlayStation doing that recently? Outside
They
of
didn't.
remakes, have they done many remasters? Not like remasters in that side, not since the PS4, right?
Not official Sony ones, I'd say. Sony seems to be really dead set on doing full from the ground up remakes,
Uh-huh.
but not since the PS3 have they really done. Other third parties have, like they did
Yeah.
the Tomb Raider collection, they did Borderlands collection, they did like
Yeah.
all those collections, but like Sony themselves have not. You're right.
Right.
And you've said it a bunch of times, and I agree with you. Sony seems to be very new focused. They care more about enticing people with something new. And it seems
Yeah.
like that's probably why they're focused on doing full from the ground up remakes. But
Yeah.
they could be making cheaper money if they just re-release things.
Yeah, and like I feel like Nintendo is the one who at least first party wise takes their old shit, brings it back, barely done
Yeah.
anything to it, and still throw it fucking full price. Like, I still think that the Skyward Sword HD is fucking egregious at full price. Like, I feel like that's just such a fucking slap to the face. But
hey, they did it with Pikmin. They did it with all the Switch ports. And they did it before with Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD on Wii U. And it's a threat. They will continue to do it. Hopefully they add more than what they've just shown us, because those other games had some more changes than just what, just releasing the game. But like, it's not going to be a ton. I will say that.
Yeah,
it's not going to be a huge change.
I don't know. I guess we'll see. I hope you're right in the idea that things are moving in a more positive direction. I hope that Nintendo and PlayStation take some pages out of Microsoft books here and, start giving a shit a little bit more about both their old libraries and their streaming capabilities, because I feel like Game Pass is just eating their fucking lunch. Like, it's not even close. Like, even if you combined what PlayStation Now and Nintendo is, you still wouldn't have what you have with Game Pass. Like, that's the craziest thing. So I hope that they start giving a bit more of a shit and they keep these games in their services longer, because there's literally no fucking reason why PlayStation Now and Nintendo Switch Online aren't
be this bad.
tenfold better than what they are right now.
I agree. 100% agree.
I hope you're right, and I guess we'll see. We'll see if this rumored Nintendo Switch Online revamp has any weight. We'll see if PlayStation will do anything outside of adding fucking Avengers to their service
for 4 months.
Yeah, and Game Pass will keep being great, I guess. That's kind of the state of where we're at. But Darren, that brings us to the end of the show. We've talked a lot about these games, and I hope we see better stuff going forward. Is there anything left on your chest that you want to just lay bare?
I've said a lot of words today, so I'll just say a few more words to pass on all the words that I've said, to continue stop saying things.
Okay. Well, there you go. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you're curious about more of our content, go hop over onto that YouTube, hit that sub button. Oh, we finally got our custom link. We are now youtube.com/burnoutbrighter. So find us there. It's not youtube.com/fucking string of numbers and letters. We are now officially youtube.com/burnoutbrighter. We have reviews. Our Lost Words review is up now. We're going to have at least a couple more reviews in the next couple of weeks. We are going to have more Let's Plays, more Hey Did You Hears, a whole bunch of shit. So if you're not already subbed to us on YouTube, go find us and hit that button. Help us share our shit, because we're proud of what we do. We hope you're proud of us too.
So
Darren,
proud of you, Matt.
To the end. So proud of you, Darren. Destiny, so proud of you.
So proud of you, Destiny. So proud of you.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. Peace out.
Later.